What's happening, everybody? It's been quite a long time since our last video. Things have been a little bit busy, but this is episode number 14, and today's date is November 18th. So, welcome back to Wayne's World, and kind of want to talk about a few things today that some of you may have been paying real good attention to, and some of you may have been not paying too close of attention to. So, a lot of things happening in our area lately in central Michigan that are kind of dangerous, and then in the big national media, there's a lot of things going on, and some of it can affect us. And what I mean specifically is this Kyle Rittenhouse case. So I'll get to that in a minute. But in our area specifically, a couple of weeks ago, there was a shooting in Elma, and the police handled it very, very well from what I can tell. And this guy who was supposed to be in court that day, he was on a tether. From what I hear, he cut his tether off and went and hung it on, I want to say, a police officer's vehicle and was trying to ambush him. And when his plan didn't work out, I guess he went and fired off a magazine into the door of the police station in Elma, drove around the block, fired a few more rounds, and then a chase took place where he was firing rounds off as he was going down the street. And eventually he got barricaded in by a civilian driving either a van or a small truck, and had to get out of his vehicle, fired some more rounds off. Law enforcement fired a few rounds off, injured the attacker, and took him into custody and took him to the hospital. That could have ended real bad. From what I've been told, the assailant fired off 70 rounds, and it's very lucky that nobody or nothing was hit. They couldn't find bullet holes in anything, as far as I've heard. So kudos to Elma's police department and how they handled that. Roughly at that same time period, we had an older woman who I'm guess was a meth addict from the looks of her. She murdered two people that were related to her, or she knew somehow, and then she murdered two other people. And these two other people were basically good Samaritans that came there to try to help the gentleman that she murdered fix his leaky roof. And I guess the guy was on a very limited fixed income. These two good Samaritans noticed that his roof was leaking and bad, and they had set up a time to meet with him to come and help him out. So that happened. That lady was caught and put into custody. And then in Ionia, which isn't too far from us, some random person with a samurai sword went into a establishment and attacked the workers in the establishment with this samurai sword. And dangerous stuff is getting closer and closer to home. And when this dangerous stuff occurs, we have to be prepared to handle it. And which kind of brings me to the case of Kyle Rittenhouse. And it's all over the national media. You hear stuff everywhere about what's going on in the Kyle Rittenhouse case. Right now, both sides, the prosecution and the defense, have rested, and it's in the jury's hands, and they're deliberating. And as far as I'm concerned, from what I see and knowing and understanding the laws and how they work, this should have never even been taken to trial. Kyle Rittenhouse should have never even been charged. And this whole thing is the media basically lying to stir the pot. And it started by the media lying to stir the pot. And so the whole thing started with the George Floyd incident. That's another talk for another time. But the George Floyd incident had everybody riled up and everybody thinking that cops are racist. And if you look at some of my past videos, I talk about the actual numbers of police-involved shootings and the demographics of the people that are involved in those shootings. And we're lied to by the media. The numbers don't match the narrative. But anyways, shortly after the George Floyd incident, the Jacob Blake incident took place. And the Jacob Blake incident, long story short, was this guy went to, I'm guessing, his ex's house and tried to hurt and abduct her and her children. And the woman already had a personal protection order against Jacob Blake. Jacob Blake was a known violent criminal, and she called the police. Police came. Jacob Blake he told the police he was going to kill them and was going for a knife, and they shot him. What would you have done if you were those law enforcement officers? Not protected yourself? So the media portrays it like it's these racist cops just gunning down random black people at will, which is absolutely not the case of what happened. So then the riots in Kenosha starts. And night number one of the riots, half the cities get burnt down. The car lots that Kyle Rittenhouse and his friends were there guarding, they lost millions of dollars in inventory due to the violent riots and the looting and the burning and all that stuff. So on the next night, these car lot owners called up an associate of Kyle Rittenhouse's, and they asked him, "Hey, would you come and help us protect our other lots?" Because I guess they had 3 lots right there in that downtown Kenosha vicinity. So this guy calls up his friends, and they all go there, and they're all armed, and they go to protect these lots. And if you watch this case, this prosecutor has done nothing but lie through his teeth the whole time. He's wasted everybody's time because he goes into stuff that has no connection to anything, and it doesn't matter. Like, he reiterates and reiterates and reiterates things that don't matter. And we've caught him lying 50 different times. And then he's terrible. The guy's an idiot. I don't even know how he's a prosecutor. Either one of them. They're both morons. And I'm not saying that because they're the opposition to Kyle Rittenhouse. I'm saying it because it's very apparent that they may have went through law school, but so did our former vice president. Cheated his way through law school. So it doesn't mean you're an intelligent individual. But the news media portrayed it like Kyle Rittenhouse is this white supremacist. The kid is not a white supremacist. There's not anything anywhere that would associate him with white supremacy. And the whole news media, they portray him as a white supremacist. And then our former vice president does the same thing, accuses this kid, this 17-year-old kid, of being a white supremacist. Now, if you've watched anything about this case, everything the media is saying is garbage. And this kid is a really good kid who has a good heart, and he was out there trying to help his community. But the news media will have you believe this kid just randomly crossed state lines with a rifle and went to gun down black people. First off, all 3 people that he shot were white. So there's no black individuals involved in this. So I don't even know where race comes into it at. So that's one big thing that the media will have you believe, that the people that he shot were black people. So that's not the case. And then the second thing that they're lying to you about is that he didn't cross state lines with the rifle. That rifle was kept at a friend of his house in Wisconsin. And Kyle Rittenhouse lived with his mom and sisters like 20 minutes away from Kenosha. Kyle Rittenhouse worked in Kenosha. His dad lived in Kenosha, and all of his dad's family lived in Kenosha. So I'm guessing he spent more than half of his time in Kenosha. He worked there. His dad lived there. His family was from there. That's where most of his life took place, was in Kenosha. And his best friend lived in Kenosha. And then the rifle that was kept at his friend's house was legal for Kyle Rittenhouse to carry. 100% legal. And that's why it was left in Wisconsin, because he lived in Illinois, and Illinois state law is different. So it wasn't legal for Kyle Rittenhouse to go out and purchase a rifle, but it is legal for him to possess that rifle and open carry that rifle. The news media, in one of the charges, he was charged as if he had a short-barreled rifle. He did not have a short-barreled rifle. And the moron prosecution never even measured the barrel of the rifle to see if it was a short-barreled rifle. So they just instantly put these charges on this kid. And none of them are correct. He didn't have an illegal rifle. He didn't cross state lines with a rifle. And the kid was obviously, very apparently, defending himself when he was attacked. So I don't know how much of this any of you have watched. But so we know now that he was 100% legal to possess and carry that rifle in those situations. And they asked him, and he was out there. So the reason that he went there was to help his community. And he was scrubbing off graffiti, putting out fires, and giving people medical attention. And that's what he was there doing. And he wasn't friends with any of these people. He didn't know these people, and other than the small group of people that he was with. And he was walking through these crowds asking if anybody needed medical attention. And then when they would see a fire somewhere, he would go and put the fires out. And now that's what he was doing all that day and all that night, was helping people, helping the community, stopping the community that he spends his life in from being completely destroyed, as half of it was destroyed the night before during the riots. And so let's go into the first incident that happened. So the Joseph Rosenbaum, the first person that Kyle was forced to defend himself against, every picture, every video that you see throughout that night taking place, this Joseph Rosenbaum was instigating trouble, starting fires, causing destruction, threatening people, attacking people. He was probably one of the biggest problems and instigators during that whole situation. He physically threatened to kill Kyle Rittenhouse twice before the incident took place. One of them said something along the lines that he's going to cut his heart out. The second one said, if I catch you alone, I'm going to kill you. So this guy's violent. He's causing destruction. He's threatened to attack Kyle Rittenhouse and kill him twice. Now, these protesters, or not the protesters, the rioters and the people causing destruction, most of them could see that Kyle was a naive, young, weaker individual. He's a 17-year-old kid. And this kid spent his life trying to help people. He was a lifeguard. He was in the basically junior police department where they would learn things about being law enforcement. He was a junior firefighter and paramedic where as a child, as a younger individual, he would go and learn things about, being a paramedic and being a firefighter. So and I think he was in college to be a nurse too. So he spent his time trying to help people. He was a lifeguard for work. So he had medical training. And they could tell that he was younger, weaker, and a young, naive individual. And it's pretty apparent that he didn't think these people were evil, and he didn't think they were out to hurt him. And he had his rifle with him to protect himself. And at one point in time, Kyle's walking through this crowds of people, and he's saying, "Hey, does anybody need medical attention? Does anybody need medical attention?" His friend calls him. And they were helping these individuals that owned 3 different car lots. One of the car lots was already torched, and they lost, tons of vehicles and tons of inventory. And they were protecting one, and there was a group that was protecting another. Well, the group that was protecting the second car lot had left, and people were in there causing destruction. Kyle's friend called him and said, "Hey, go down to this car lot and start putting fires out because people are there starting the vehicles on fire." So Kyle somehow got separated from the individuals that he was with. And the individuals that he was with when he was walking through the crowd, one of them was former Army infantry who had a tour in Iraq and a tour in Afghanistan. An experienced individual who people weren't looking at like a target because you could tell he had experience and he was older and stronger and more of a physically imposing person than what Kyle was. Another person that was out there with him was a Marine infantry veteran. So they could probably look at him and tell that he was not an easy target or an easy victim. Well, Kyle got separated from them. He tried to find people, couldn't find them. He grabbed a fire extinguisher, asked someone to go and help him. They wouldn't go and help him, and he starts walking down the street. At this point in time, I think this Joseph Rosenbaum, the first person that Kyle had to defend himself against, and the individuals that he was with, a male and a female, saw him coming, hid behind a car, and ambushed him. And Kyle ran away. That's the first thing he did. But under law, he's not forced to run away under Wisconsin state law. He has the right to protect himself, but he runs away. And he keeps running until he gets cornered. And when he gets cornered, this person, this Joseph Rosenbaum, is right on top of him, lunging at him and reaching for his weapon after he's told him he was going to kill him twice. And another thing that's it's relevant but not relevant, this guy is a child molester. A convicted child molester, right? So he's a violent criminal. And when he lunges at Kyle, after Kyle gets cornered and turns around, Kyle fires 4 shots into him in under a second. In 3/4 of a second, Kyle fires 4 shots, kills him, stands there in shock, thinking about administering medical aid, but sees the crowd of rioters closing in on him. So he takes off running. And then while he's running away, these rioters continue to attack him, and the mob behind him of violent rioters is getting bigger and bigger. You see one person run up behind him with a rock in their hand and hit Kyle in the back of the head. That could have killed him, could have knocked him out. You can tell he starts getting woozy and stumbling at this point. And then another person runs up behind him and tries to hit him in the head with a skateboard. He blocks it and continues to run. Well then, after those 2 hits, he gets lightheaded, trips, and falls. When he falls, another person runs at him, jump kicks him in the face. Hits him so hard in the face it spins him around. Then the The person went and picked up their skateboard that already hit him once with it, comes back, hits him in the head with the skateboard again, which luckily it didn't knock him out, and then grabs his rifle. And that's when he gets shot one time in the chest and killed. Kyle fired 2 shots at the guy that jump kicked him, as he should have, because and they're saying the prosecution is trying to say a skateboard's not a deadly weapon. Part of my language, but absolute bullshit. You can kill somebody very easily with a skateboard. A skateboard with the trucks and wheels on it is a heavy item that can be used to kill somebody or knock them unconscious. Where if Kyle would have been knocked unconscious, I guarantee you that crowd, that mob of violent criminals would have stomped him to death. So he would have been dead if he would have took any more blows, more than likely. So he fired 2 rounds at the guy who jump kicked him, missed. He fired 1 round at the guy who hit him with the skateboard twice and then tried to take his weapon. And that guy fell and died. And then in comes this Gabe Rosenkreutz dipshit. And this guy is the most irritating. First off, the prosecutor, Ned Flanders, he is seriously irritating, aggravating. I mean, there's nothing about this individual that is likable. And then when Rosenkreutz, or whatever the hell you say his name, gets on the stand and these two are having a conversation, it's disgusting. It's like these 2 smug, arrogant, just absolutely cringeworthy individuals having a conversation and basically licking each other's asses. And this guy, so he chased Kyle down the street, right? He's supposedly a medic, and he goes onto that for hours when he's on the stand about all of his medical training and how he loves to help people and blah blah blah. And first off, he illegally transported a firearm and was illegally concealing a firearm while he was there at that riot. Kyle did not. Everything Kyle did with that firearm was legal. He didn't cross state lines with it, and being a 17-year-old, he was legal to open carry that firearm. It was not a short-barreled rifle, and the reason that he had a long gun instead of a pistol is because as a 17-year-old, he could not possess a pistol. So he possessed the gun that he could legally possess in that situation. And anyways, so this Rosenkreutz chases Kyle down the street, and when the Anthony Huber, the guy with the skateboard, gets shot, you see him like cringe, like out of instinct, covers himself up, and then he advances towards Kyle with his arms up, and then at one point in time he lunges at Kyle, and when he's lunging, he has his pistol in his right hand and his phone in his other hand. And when he lunges at Kyle, he points his gun at him. And that's when Kyle fires and blows his bicep off. And he tries to say that he's trying to, he thinks that Kyle's an active shooter. Well, you hear him ask Kyle a question when Kyle's running, and Kyle answers it and says, "I'm going to the police," basically. And then he continues to pursue Kyle down the street. And this guy is supposedly there, this Rosenkreutz is supposedly there to be a medic. Well, you know that someone just got shot behind you. You don't know who it was. You don't know why they were shot. You don't know what condition they were in. And you're supposedly a medic. Why are you chasing Kyle instead of going to help this person that you say that you're there to help, right? So he chases Kyle down the street and lunges at him, points his gun at him, and gets his arm blown off, right? Or a big chunk of his bicep blown off. Afterwards, when he gives his statements to law enforcement, he never mentions the fact that he has a firearm. He was an unarmed individual out there trying to be peaceful and help individuals. And then we never find out about it, but he files a $10 million lawsuit within 6 hours of being shot against the city of Kenosha. So he files this big lawsuit against the city of Kenosha. And in this lawsuit, he doesn't say anything about his firearm. Not word one. So he leaves that out, that, hey, I pursued Kyle down the street, and then I pointed my pistol at his head, and that's when he shot me in the arm. And after he shot me, and I was now basically no longer a threat, he did not continue to shoot me. I am so impressed with this kid, Kyle. I am so seriously impressed with, number one, how decent of a human being he is for the age that he is at. He wasn't out there to cause destruction. He wasn't out there to hurt people. He went to Kenosha, the place where he spends the majority of his life, to try to stop destruction from happening to his city and to try to help individuals, no matter who those individuals were. And a couple times throughout the night, Kyle kind of fabricates a few things, and the prosecutor makes a huge deal out of it. Like, he's 17 and he tells people, oh, he's 18 or 19. He has medical training because he's a lifeguard and a junior paramedic, but he's not actually an EMT or a paramedic. And he tells people that he is. Big deal. He lied to some rioters or he lied to some random people. It wasn't even a lie, it was like an exaggeration. I'm going to tell you, I was 17 when I joined the military. Do you think when I went out there with my buddies, I didn't tell people that I was older than what I actually was? Because I'm this young 17, 18-year-old and my friends are 20, 21, 22 and older. And I'm like, oh, I'm a 17-year-old child. Yeah, Kyle was in that same position and he was there to help people. So what difference does it make that he exaggerated some minor details to random people? He wasn't on the stand. He wasn't testifying. He wasn't under oath. Who cares, right? And so those were the three individuals that Kyle shot. He had 100% right to shoot all three of them. If he wouldn't have shot any one of those, he'd probably be dead. The first person that he shot, Rosenbaum or whatever his name is, that person would have killed him. That was his intention. And he told him of it twice, and he chased him into a dark alley and was trying to grab his weapon, right? Kyle tried to stop it. Kyle tried to get away, right? And that guy had two people with him all night long, watching what he was doing, joining him in his destruction. I can't remember what their names are off the top of my head. But for some reason, the prosecution in this case never calls them to the stand to testify. Why didn't he call them to the stand to testify? Because everything that they said would be damning to their case. And there is no reason for Kyle to have been arrested or put on trial. None. If you look at the facts of this case, if you look at the facts of what happened and take emotion out of it and take the false racism out of it and take the false everything that is said in the news media out of it, Kyle was 100% well within his rights to do everything that he did. The prosecutor keeps making a big deal of, so one of the protesters or rioters told you to stay on the property you were protecting. Who gives a shit what that person says? Are they in charge? Are they the law? And then he makes a big deal out of, well, there was a text message sent to everybody that says there's a curfew of 8 p.m. Why didn't you go home? Why were you still there? Well, why was everybody else still there? Why didn't everybody else go home? You know, and it doesn't mean that you should follow the herd, but Kyle was there trying to do the right things, right? Imagine if someone came into your city, your town, your village, and these people came in and started burning everything down, burning businesses. That Rosenbaum, he burned a ton of stuff and caused a bunch of destruction throughout the night. He set a church on fire. He set a school on fire. He set a dumpster on fire, tipped over a trailer and took chains off it, was running around with a chain in his hand, tipped over a porta potty and set it on fire. He was causing destruction all night long and threatened to kill Kyle more than one time. And that's where this whole incident started. Kyle was alone. This guy chased Kyle, cornered Kyle. Kyle had no choice. That kid did not go there with intentions of hurting anybody. And the prosecutor keeps saying, well, if you don't have intentions of hurting anybody, why do you have a firearm? To protect myself. I have a firearm to show that I have the means to protect myself as I legally can. And Kyle didn't think that he would actually have to use that firearm. And he just had it as a show of force, a means to protect himself if necessary. And you can tell the kid's distraught over it. He didn't want to have to shoot anybody. He didn't want to have to kill anybody. And I tell you what, that kid did a damn good job with his firearm that night. He never pointed it at anybody. He kept his finger off the trigger, kept his weapon in a proper, condition and position the entire night. And he used it very, very well in that high threat, high intensity, high adrenaline situation. He fired 4 rounds off in succession into Rosenbaum in 3/4 of a second. And that's pretty commendable and pretty good for, a young kid with minimal training. And then luckily, one of the things that saved that kid's life was that day, him and his buddy went to a sporting goods store and they bought the 2 cheapest slings they could find. That sling saved his life when he was attacked by the guy with the skateboard and jump kick man. And so shut off the TV, shut off the news media, shut off, mainstream media, because everything that they say is a lie to you. And this whole situation was started because the mainstream media was lying. And it's not a one-time thing. They do it all the time. Look at the kid in the Make America Great Again hat that went to Washington, D.C. with his school. And the news media tried to make it out like this kid's like this racist psycho. The kid never even moved. And the news media made it out to be something different. And he sued the media and won, and he's filthy rich. I'm willing to bet that Kyle and his family are going to make so much money off of this, off of suing the news media, because everything that they said was wrong. And then the former vice president that, let's go Brandon, that dude comes out and says the same thing. How disgusting is that? And if you watch anything about this kid, he's a rare, good kid these days. I mean, this kid is a rarity. His whole mission in life is to help people, and that's what he does with his time. He, has some fun with his friends and tries to help people. So, like I was saying, shut the news media off, shut the TV off, and everything that they put out there is garbage. And there's been so much of it that I forget a lot of it. Like, for instance, right after I did my last video, the Facebook whistleblower came out. If you don't know by now that was all a setup, you're listening to the wrong sources. Basically, all that woman said was, we need more censorship. She was put up to that by Facebook, and Facebook already censors. YouTube already censors. Google already censors. All these places already censor. And this woman is out there now. She's working with our government, trying to help them implement censorship on the internet. And what that's going to do is it's going to go to these alternate sources like Telegram and Parler and these other sources, Gab, and make it to where they're censored out of existence. And that makes it to where, Facebook, Google, YouTube, whatever is more profitable, because now they don't have competition. And that's what her whole intent was nothing to do about Facebook did anything. All it was to do was to try to push censorship. And if everything was censored and all you had was the mainstream narrative, everybody would be under the impression that this, Kyle Rittenhouse kid is this racist, bloodthirsty, white supremacist psycho who was out there gunning people down in the streets for no reason. And this Joseph Rosenbaum, Anthony Huber, and Gabe Rosenkreutz, or whatever the hell their names are, were these model citizens that were there peacefully protesting against the unnecessary shooting of an unarmed black male. That's what the mainstream media would have you believe, and it is all false and it is all bullshit. So I pray that they come back real soon with not guilty in all accounts for this kid, because this kid does not deserve to be in any trouble. And this isn't my political persuasion speaking. This isn't anything to do with my feelings on what I'm thinking. It's the facts of the situation. And that is something that we have gotten so far away from. We have been pushed into being this society where feelings mean more than facts. And guess what? Our feelings don't mean a damn thing when they're not lined up with the truth. But the news media, the people that run the show these days, they would have you believe differently. And, hopefully what's right and what should happen is what does happen, because this kid does not deserve to be in any trouble. And he has a lot of people out there threatening his life, threatening his family's life, threatening the judge, threatening the jury. And just look at the facts for yourself. Watch a few of the people testify. Watch their the prosecution's number one witness testify. And he basically says everything that Kyle Rittenhouse does was right. So, and he blows their whole case up. It should have been shut down right then and there, because he was lying in his statement. He was lying to the FBI. He was lying when he filed a $10 million lawsuit against the city of Kenosha. And somehow he had the mental fortitude to tell the truth on stand. And he knew when he did it that he screwed himself. He screwed himself out of a lawsuit, and he just lost that case. He just lost the prosecution the case that they weren't already losing. They asked him, so did you chase Kyle Rittenhouse down the street? No, I did not. Were you running the same direction as him? Yes, I was. Did you pull your gun out and chase him down the street? Well, I pulled my gun out. Did you point it at him and then advance towards him? Yes. So that would mean that you're a threat to Kyle. Not that Kyle's a threat to you. It would mean that you're a threat to Kyle. Well, I thought that he was a active shooter. So you had a conversation with him. You asked him what happened. He answers you, and he keeps running. He didn't point his weapon at you. He didn't fire at you. He didn't fire at anybody else in the crowd. So what of any of that situation would make you think that Kyle Rittenhouse is an active shooter? No, you just wanted to get your licks in, right? Because of that mob mentality. Everybody there was being violent towards this kid, attacking this kid. You can almost guarantee if that was a man, if that was an armed man that posed a physical threat to them, that they wouldn't have attacked him. None of them would have. They saw this young, baby-faced, naive kid out there trying to help people, and they said, "Yup, there's our victim. That's the one that we're going to attack. That's the one that we're going to go after." And when he got separated from his more imposing, more experienced friends, that's when they ambushed him. And it's sickening. I feel so terrible for this kid. I feel terrible for his mom. And luckily, his lawyers seem very, very good at what they do. And so if you get a chance, turn it on and watch some of the actual trial. Watch the actual witnesses testify. Watch Kyle testify. And instead of listening to the news media, because all of them should be fired from their jobs and they should be sued into oblivion. And cause it's not the first time this happened. Look at the whole Trump situation. Journalists were given Pulitzer prizes for what we knew then, and what everybody knows now was a complete lie. The whole Russia thing made up by the Clinton campaign, and we have all the proof of it now. All the proof is out there. They're arresting people that were involved in it now. And that's the story for another day. But if Kyle Rittenhouse loses this case, it's going to affect all of us and our ability to defend ourselves when we're attacked. And it's going to come down to the demographics of the people. They had the right to attack you because their feelings were hurt over something that didn't even happen. And it's going to threaten all of our rights to defend ourselves. So this is something that's important to all of us. It's important to our Second Amendment rights. It's important to our right to self-defense. And so look into the truth in this situation. But until next time, I'm sorry it's been so long. I'm sorry I was so all over the place on this. I haven't taken any notes. I've just been kind of listening to the situation. And it turns my stomach that this is happening to this kid. It's going to scar him for life. And he's going to have a big target on his back because there's a lot of people out there that sit on the wrong side of the fence with things like this. So until next time, peace out.